All right. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, everyone. We're going to get right to it today. We are going to talk about on this workshop the secret to relief and remission from Hashimoto's 90 days or less. How to ditch the doctor, find out your root causes, and implement an individualized AIP protocol. All things that we need to do to help get someone with Hashimoto's better. Okay? Let's get right to work. Okay? Now, stick around at the end. So what we're going to do on today's workshop is I'm literally going to walk you through a case study. Like, here's a patient of mine, and here's the process that we go through, everything from diagnosis right through figuring out what's causing the Hashimoto's, right through developing an individualized treatment plan. Okay. At the end, we're going to go through all that. Stick around towards the end if you want that your own. If you want me to help do that with you, then you'll be able to schedule that with me. So stick around towards the end. We'll talk about that. All right. Now, look, focus. I'm not going to drone on and on and on. This is not going to be a testimonial fest. Um, so it's going to be really jam-packed with information. Close out the Facebook, put the phone on silent, focus. Let's dig in. Um, and you're going to learn a lot today. Okay. Now, briefly, who am I? A lot of you people, a lot of you people, a lot of you guys on here know who I am. You're either on my email list or in my Facebook group or something, but my name is Dr. Ray Benedetto. I've been seeing Hashimoto's patients for well over a decade now. We're talking thousands of patients. I practice here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, board certified chiropractic neurologist, functional medicine practitioner, seeing people all over the country for years now, virtually. I've helped plenty of people, right? And I just pulled out a few here. I swear it's going to take like 30 seconds for testimonials. But this is what we're talking about today is sane medicine, right? The opposite really of kind of mainstream medicine, right? Getting to the root of the problem, figuring it out, getting it fixed. Okay. What do we have to do? Thorough testing, see what's going on, give patients the knowledge and the experience and the ability to help get them better, right? Everyone I see usually, hey, I wish I found you years ago. And you can see some of these are from years ago, right? Tell me this doesn't sound familiar. Took meds for years, no results. Only doctors who got to the root cause and helped me. My wife's name is Allison. We practice together. And again, I got hundreds of these things. I'm not going to drone on and on and on. You guys get the idea. This is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this a long time. Um, so let's get to it. Let's talk about the what. Why are we here today? What's the problem, right? What's the issue, right? The problem is you've probably been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. If you're not, you're suspicious you have it, but most of you here probably already even been diagnosed with it, right? So that's the problem is like I've been diagnosed with it and I've been trying stuff. What have you been trying? I've been doing things like exercise. I've been taking supplements. I've been trying different diets. I've been on thyroid meds or I'm not on thyroid meds. I've tried different programs out there, like with gigantic price tags and health coaches and all this stuff. I've been to, I can't tell you how many doctor visits or how many doctors I've seen over the years. I've tried things like no low dose naltrexone. Like you tried all these things and it's still not working, right? Well, as you're going to find today, the reason why it's not working is none of those things actually are a comprehensive plan to address the Hashimoto's, which is the cause of the problem, right? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to walk through that. Here's the bottom line. Here's what it comes down to. We're going to start real broad and then we're going to do this today. Okay, gang? There are circumstances that are beyond our control, right? And there are thoughts that we tell ourselves. There are feelings that those thoughts give us. And then those feelings drive us to take action. Okay. And so what has that? And then our results are going to be the base of our actions, right? Hopefully, we're going to change some of that today. So what happens, right? What are our thoughts? So, like prior to today, this probably most of you have probably been through this, right? I'm sick of getting told my blood tests are normal, um, but I'm not getting better, right? So that leads to feelings of like confusion, overwhelm, frustration. What the heck am I supposed to do then? Like I keep going to my doctor, they're telling me I'm normal. I don't understand it, right? That's going to lead action to actions, right? What are those actions? What does everyone do, right? What do I do it too, right? You just consume more information, trying to figure it all out. You're on Google and forums and Facebook groups and all this kind of stuff, trying to figure it out on your own because you're like, I got to do something. I'm not doing well. And what are those results, right? We don't get any, right? Like no results. Like I feel worse. I don't know what to do. Okay. What I want you to leave this workshop today with is clarity, the clarity to know, the confidence to move forward and get this thing fixed. I'm going to provide you with some expertise on how to do all that. Okay. So that by the time we're done, what are we thinking? Cool. Now I know what to do. Now I know why I'm not getting better and what I got to do about it, which is then going to lead to feelings of optimism, relief, clarity. Those are important things, huge, right? To be able to take the perfect actions moving forward. Hey, look, cool, Dr. B, maybe I want to partner with you and let's do an evaluation, figure me out, and let's get a plan in place to get this fixed, right? Which is then going to give us results. Relief from symptoms, a clear path forward. Like, what do we do now? What's the game plan? Okay. Now, people get to me and I'm really pretty good at this point at solving one thing. Okay. People get to me and they want one thing. I need a plan to get my Hashimoto's into remission and to recover. Okay. And it has to be personalized. It has to be individualized to each person. That's why there's just no cookie cutter solutions here. Right. So that's the main problem people come to me with. And that's what we got to solve. Okay. Um, And there's a three-step process by which we do that, right? So, okay, I need this personalized plan. What is hurdle number one? Hurdle number one is I've been going to my doctors over and over and over again. They're not treating me. They don't even listen to me. They spend 5 minutes with me. They just run blood work. They look at the blood work. If there's nothing off in the blood work, they don't do anything. If there is something off in the blood work, like my TSH is elevated, okay, we're going to prescribe the medications. We're going to bring that back into range and we're done. And it doesn't do anything to identify the Hashimoto's if it's there or identify the cause of the Hashimoto's. And it doesn't do anything to fix the problem. So you're being told like your labs are normal, I'm still suffering, right? So you need to find a doctor. I don't care if it's me or someone else you feel comfortable with who knows what they're doing. Unfortunately, there's not that many of us, but you need to find a doctor that's focused on treating the person, not their blood work. Blood work's important for monitoring stuff and diagnosing stuff, but it's not treating we're not treating blood work, piece of paper. We're treating a person with a diagnosis, right? We don't treat the diagnosis in the person, we treat the person with the diagnosis. It's going to be different for everybody. That's why it's got to be personalized. There's a three-step process we do that. Okay. Number one, really that first step is a case review or a consultation or a case workup, right? So I need to sit down with my patients and initially, before we do anything, before I make any recommendations or before I even see if I can help them, what has been your previous, what have you done up until now? What have you gotten? What have you done on your own? All that kind of stuff. We got to figure out all the holes in the bucket, those the way the all the ways in which medicine has failed you. We got to fix those holes, right? And it starts with big time assessments. Like I use all kinds of, I have a 85-point thyroid scorecard I use with my patients. Um, we have on all the heavy lifting is done on the front end. So when we talk about a case review, which you're going to see in the example today, it's all done on the front end. Like we have to do all these things, A, to see what's going on with you and to see if I even think I can help you. And then B, like, okay, what's the plan going to be moving forward? Okay. And so then that's, I like to give fancy names to stuff. So I call that my Benedetto bedside manner because it rhymes with my last name. And bedside manner, as most of you know, is a completely lost art in medicine. It doesn't exist. Like that process that I just in a minute told you about how I take all my patients through, what you're going to see doesn't get done, right? So we got to develop a one-on-one plan. Okay. The second problem that most of my patients have when they come to me, they're like, I know about all this root cause stuff. I've heard about root causes. I got to figure out my root causes. I don't know what they are. I don't know how to figure them out. So what do we got to do? We have to figure out somebody's root causes, right? Again, there's a three-step process for that. Testing. I like testing. They're not crazy. I do genetic testing. I like DNA testing on most of my patients, which is looking for genetic mutations. There's been a lot of chatter recently in my groups and stuff about MTHFR mutations, all that kind of stuff. Yes, we got to figure all those things out. I like some DNA testing. I'll show you which one I use. I like something called the Dutch complete test. Okay. I like a Dutch test on most of my patients. First of all, most of my patients, when they get to me, they've never had either of these tests done. So we have to do them. The Dutch test, I love it. And again, you'll see it in detail as we work through the case workup. It's three tests in one. So it's hormones, it's adrenals, and it's something called organic acids, which looks for all kinds of nutritional deficiencies, metabolic imbalances, that kind of stuff. And then a lot of times I might need to run additional labs on someone to fill in some blanks on blood work they've never had done before, like homocysteine or something like that, which ties into the some of the DNA mutations, um, those kinds of stuff. And I also take their labs and look at them at a more functional range, right? Not in these gigantic lab ranges, right? So then we're gonna have root cause clarity. We know we got cards on the table. Now, how do we attack these things? Okay. The third problem, maybe the bigger problem most of my patients have, you guys are, most people who are in my world, in my groups and my pages and all this kind of stuff, my email, they're like, I know I got to do some dietary stuff, but I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to eat. I don't know what not to eat. I don't know how to do an elimination protocol. I don't know how to implement an AIP protocol. I don't know what supplements to take. So I tell people, well, as part of this process, we have to figure out so that we know exactly what to eat, what not to eat, what supplements to take short term and long term. Okay. So we have to figure out the food part of it. We have to prescribe individualized specific supplements for someone based on whatever they need. And that's going to develop a personalized AIP protocol. So an AIP protocol stands for autoimmune protocol. I did not invent this concept. I invented my version of it, where we do an elimination reintroduction diet, and then we do a little bit of supplementation for people to help with their inflammation, to help fix their gut, all that kind of stuff. Right? So that's going to put us on a plan. That's going to put us on the healing path. And I want changes quick, man. My folks, first 30 days, 60 days tops, I want big changes, 50% symptom improvement, right? And I usually start at 90 days, like a 90-day protocol for most of my patients. Again, it varies for everybody, but I like to give people a ballpark as far as what we do. So let's take all of this and let's apply it in a case study, right? So let's take a patient of mine from the past and let's work through how we do this. How do we take that and how do we apply it? Okay. To get someone figured out and to get them treated and get them better. All right. Let's start with this one. This is Margaret. Okay. Margaret came to me years ago. Okay. She was 62 years old. This was kind of like the start, right? This is not going to sound unfamiliar to most of you, right? I'm gaining weight. I don't understand why. Yeah, I'm not doing anything different, but like I can't stop it. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. Depression, anxiety, fatigue, all kinds of, GI problems, cravings. She was already on thyroid medication, right? She was the story we just went through, right? So it's like, which a lot of you are on, right? So it's like, I've been diagnosed hypothyroid. I've been put on the Synthroid, Levo, NP, whatever. It doesn't, whatever it is, you're put on that to balance out your labs, and then you're done. Okay, and it doesn't fix the Hashimoto's, which is the underlying cause, and people don't get better, right? It's not fixing anything. So they're like, I'm taking, I don't feel any different. If anything, I'm feeling worse over time. Okay, so what do? We run her through this first leg of the triangle. Okay, I took all of her blood work. We sat down, had a consultation. I do this with everybody. Sit down. We have usually a 30-minute consultation, at least in the beginning. I want a complete history. I want to see previous blood work. I want to see all this stuff. Okay. And so we did this with her, right? So what did we do? The bedside manner. I needed to look at, are there diagnoses, other things that are contributing to the Hashimoto's that are already in your blood work that have been identified but are being swept under the rug? Are there, again, root causes already identified but not being addressed, like a vitamin D deficiency? Like your doctor checked your vitamin D, it's deficient. They didn't even do anything, you know? Are there blanks we need to fill in with blood work? Are there additional tests that we need to run that I want to see that's going to fill in some blanks of stuff that hasn't been checked for? Okay. And then I like an 85-point thyroid assessment. It's an assessment I use with my patients to look at how is your thyroid dysfunction actually affecting your quality of life. Okay. And so there we go. She had never had these done. You can see this was 2017, gang. This was a long time ago, right? I've been doing this a long time. There's an ordering provider. That's me. I ran these tests on her. She had never had thyroid antibodies checked. There it is right there. Thyroid peroxidase. Anything over 9 is Hashimoto's, right? Boom. There it was. It's not rocket science. She had never had these tests done. So I did them, and there you go. It's Hashimoto's. Now that changes the game a little bit. We can get to work. Okay. Again, I have people come to me all the time with these things. Like blood work. Like you can see this is a separate patient of mine. But she came to me and already had all this blood work done, like multiple times over years, right? And she has parietal cell antibodies. Parietal cells are cells in your stomach that make hydrochloric acid an intrinsic factor for absorption of B12 primarily. Autoimmunity affecting the parietal cells. Anti-smooth muscle, right? Smooth muscle is the muscle that makes up the linings of all of your organs, right? Antibodies. ANA positive, anti-nuclear antibody positive. She sent me her labs ahead of time. We sat down. I'm like, look at this. Like they checked these on her for years. They were always elevated. We're talking multiple autoimmune things going on here. Nothing. Her immune system's attacking her thyroid. Her immune system's attacking the cells in her stomach. Her immune system's attacking smooth muscle, which is lining her organs. Like we got to stop this. Like they identified it. They do nothing about it. Sorry, I get a little worked up sometimes. Again, what are things that we see on labs? These are things that I did see on Margaret's labs, right? C-reactive protein, sky high. C-reactive protein is inflammatory marker. You can see 0 to 3. Anything over 3 is considered high. This is 42. That's significant. Anything over 3 is considered very high risk for future cardiovascular events. So I see these inflammatory markers high all the time. What's anybody doing about that? Nothing. Iron's low, ferritin's low, right? You can see the antibodies were still yet to come in. But all this stuff was low, and we see that with iron deficiency anemias. So we got, you know, iron deficiency anemia. We got significant inflammatory markers. Like gang, we have to do this thorough initial evaluation to get all these cards on the table. Okay. And then here's the 85-point assessment. Here's like a little screenshot of it. Um, I have patients fill it out and we score it and we chart it over time and that kind of thing. It's like, how is your thyroid affecting your quality of life? All right. So that all needs to be done. Like we have to do all that stuff on the front end before we even talk treatment. Okay. Then we sit down and it's like, okay, we did all those things. All these dominoes are lining up. Let's get to work on treatment. Let's get into the, excuse me. Let's get into that root cause finding mode. Okay. And again, I like a DNA genetic profile. I have my patients do an ancestry.com or a 23andMe, either one. I prefer ancestry.com to be honest with you. And then I have them do a Dutch test. These are at-home tests. So the ancestry test is a saliva, you spit in it. And the benefit of the ancestry test is it's a nice, really inexpensive backdoor way to get the genetic data. So yes, you do that test, and then when the results are ready, they tell you where your family's from, your ancestors. But when they do that, they do genetic panels on everybody. So everybody who does that test, we can go into your account and get the raw genetic data file, download it, and then I can analyze it, filter out the stuff we don't need, like genes for eye color, and look at like medically relevant genes. There's like 100 or so that I like to look at: methylation, detox, MTHFR, all that kind of stuff. The Dutch test also done at home. That's urine, actually. It's dried urine. You take multiple samples over the course of a day. Many of you have seen this or looked into it or heard of it. Love it. I've been doing it for years. I get like, I probably do 10 or 15 of these a month. I got a stack right now. I got a review for patients. So super experienced with this test. I love it because it looks at hormones, it looks at adrenals, it looks at organic acid testing, nutritional deficiencies, neurotransmitters, cellular inflammatory stuff, all that kind of stuff. And then blood work, like we talked about, look at those labs in their optimal range, order labs that maybe you've never had run, look at the ones that you have had run that nobody's doing anything about, those kinds of things. So I like ancestry.com. What we do is we get the data back and I take the data. And again, this is down the road. Like this test usually takes about 6 weeks to get it back, the results back. But we can do the test and then we can look for these different genetic markers and we can see. Then I can take the data and put it into a software that I use that prints out the findings just like this. So it's really cool. This is again the MTHFR example. But we look at a bunch of other stuff. Again, we can't change someone's genetics, but if it's there, we got to deal with it. Like we got to get around it. We got to mitigate it, right? I love the Dutch test. You guys have heard me soapbox on the Dutch test forever. It's super cool. Like, look at how thorough this is. Like, it shows us the whole pathway. Like, here's a summary on the left. On the right here, you see it shows us the entire sex hormone pathway. How is your body making these hormones? How is your body utilizing these hormones? How is your body getting rid of these hormones? How is your body metabolizing these hormones? We look at things like methylation activity, all of this stuff on a Dutch test, which is super cool. Um, and then the first part of it is the hormones, which is on this page on the right. The second part of it is the adrenals, which is this page on the left. And again, it's a lot of data, right? Like look at all this stuff. So doing this test would be great, but finding someone who knows what the heck they're doing with the data or how to interpret it and then what to do about it, something totally different. This is something I do with all my patients as part of their workup. We look at all these B vitamin markers and glutathione and neurotransmitters and oxidative stress and all that kind of stuff. Love it. Love a Dutch. And then I'll take their blood work and I have this chart that I use where we kind of put all of their values in more functional ranges, at optimal ranges, as opposed to these lab ranges, which are huge. And we pick up on subtle things that need to be addressed. Right. That whole game plan is to figure out what are any and all of someone's underlying root causes, right? I may be checking for Epstein-Barr virus, but we can look at all these things between blood, DNA, and a Dutch. We can find almost darn near everything we need. But then we got the third step is right. It's like, okay, now what do we do? Like we got to implement an AIP protocol. So when I walk people through a case workup, step one is that first leg of the triangle. Like we got to sit down, case history, evaluation. What have you had done? Where are we at? Where are we trying to get to? Okay, we're going to run these couple of tests, DNA and Dutch, maybe some blood, depending on the person. Like it's going to vary for each person. And then while we're waiting for even test results to come back, let's get working on an AIP protocol. All right. It's the first step, even before we get test results back. So what we do is we first eliminate foods. So there's an elimination protocol to the dietary part of it. And I usually start at 30 days, not forever. And then we want to reintroduce over time so we can build a long-term plan. I will typically prescribe supplements during the elimination phase so that way we can decrease inflammation, calm someone's immune system down, fix their gut, detoxify their body, their cells, their liver, and then build a personalized plan for them from a dietary nutritional standpoint long term once we get test results back and all that kind of stuff after that first 30 days. So we figure it out. We got to figure it out, gang. I tell people, look, we got to strip it all down before we can build it back up again. And from a dietary standpoint, right? Supplements, I don't want my patients trying to figure this stuff out on their own. They come to me with laundry lists of stuff they're taking. It's crazy. Um, but we got to figure it out. Like initially, what are we going to take based on testing, like DNA and blood and Dutch? Are there other things I may need to take long term to support my adrenals? Whatever we find on that person. But we got to figure out what's going to be the long term nutritional plan. Got to get people detoxified. It's huge, gigantic. All right. So there's the keys to the kingdom, gang. That's it. Like I don't want to say that's it. It's complicated. It's more complex than that. But it's not, it's not terribly hard to do. It's just knowing what to do, having the right path to follow to do it. You know what I mean? Um, but there's the doors to the kingdom, right? There's the king, right there. All right. That's it. That's it. Bedside manner, figure out root causes, build a Hashimoto's healing path. Okay. We are going to open it up to Q&A very shortly, gang. So I see you. Actually, already some of you already have your hands raised. If you have questions and just raise your hand, and then I'll kind of go one to one or one on one, and everyone will be able to ask their question. If you have something you want to type in the chat, that's fine as well. Um, but so then what happened, right after Margaret, right? Literally 90 days. I think it was almost like 60 days, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't want to promise the moon here, but after about 90 days, it was more like 60 days. She had lost 20 pounds. Her depression was like literally the stuff was gone. Depression was gone, fatigue was gone, GI was fixed, cravings were gone. She was still on her thyroid meds. She had to continue taking her thyroid meds. It's just the way it goes. She was not going to be able to get off of them, you know. So, um, Chris, I love Chris, man. Chris is still a patient of mine to this day. We've been seeing her forever. Um, and she had two. She had two diagnosed ones, right? Hashimoto. She also had sarcoidosis. Again, honestly, no idea what either one, and the medical doctors offered nothing, right? She put a protocol on her. She followed a protocol. It's back in 19. It was years ago, gang. Down 40 pounds, hopping out of bed, no joint pain, right? Starting weights, whispers at work. Chris is great. You have to meet Chris. She's the best. Like this is so her. This is just how she talks. Whispers at work. They think I had bypass surgery. Nope. Is it easy? Not necessarily, but it's doable if you want to do it and you got the right plan. You know, this is the plan, gang. Like what we're laying out today, this is how it's done. Okay. Now, anyone here or anyone watching this, if you want this done, let's do it. Okay. I'm literally doing this for a pretty nominal fee, right? So, and that's not the look, you don't have to do this. I don't care if anybody watching this webinar right now or this workshop does this. It's not the point of this. It's to show you what needs to be done and answer your questions if you have them. I know because I do this, this happens every time. Every time I do a workshop like this, I get dozens of people asking me like, how can I have you do this for me? Like I want to work with you. I need you. I need someone like you. Like this made perfect sense. Like I need this done to figure me out and to get me a plan to get better. And I'm ready. I want to help. I want you to help me do that, and I want to do that together. I know that's going to happen. So if you want to do that, great. Okay. We can do that. 97 bucks is what I'm doing right now. Okay. Normally it's, someone comes to me, they walk in my door. It's like, this is going to take hours and multiple visits and we're going to do this. But if you want your own case review, you can get it for 97 bucks with me. If not, it's fine. Totally fine. You don't have to do this, but I know I'm going to get people who ask me, for this. And then, so there you go. You can check out that, website. Oh, you can scan the QR code. You know what? I'll pop the link in the chat as well. I'll pop the link in the chat as well. But then we're gonna do Q&A. We do Q&A. So I see some hands raised, um, and so I'll leave that up on the screen there, and then we can kind of chip away if anybody's got questions. All right, couple hands raised. If you have questions, raise your hands. I will answer them. All right, let's see what we got here. We got Larissa. Larissa, if you're still there, go ahead and you can unmute. And if you have a question, you can ask your question.
I'm here.
Hey, Larissa, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Same old same.
All right, all right. Well, hopefully you learned something today.
Uh, it's pretty similar what I used to have in the past. I'm just curious, your $97, what it covers?
So usually two separate appointments. Okay. So usually what we do is that first appointment, it's usually about 30 minutes. And we do kind of like, if you looked at that triangle, we do kind of like the first leg of the triangle. So what we do is we're going to sit down for about 30 minutes. We're going to do a comprehensive case history and review of you. So we're going to start like from day one, like when did all this stuff start, and kind of walk me through it. What have you done? Medications you're taking, supplements you're taking. Like we're going to evaluate everything as far as your history and what's going on right now with you. And then um, many times, well, if you can get me like if someone has previous blood work they want to share with me, which I want to see, of course, I'll have them send it to me ahead of time if they can. If not, then after that first visit, I'll tell them, okay, listen, send me all your labs. I want to go like we talked about earlier in the workshop here. Like send me the stuff you've had done previously. I want to see other things doctors have tested on you. I want to see the results of all that stuff. Like I said, I find things all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, you have all this other stuff going on and nobody's doing anything about it. So I'll typically want to see previous labs either before or after that first appointment is fine. And then if it looks like something that I might be able to help with and you want me to put together a game plan for you, then we'll schedule a follow-up and then I'll put together a more individualized treatment plan or game plan for you, we'll get together on a second appointment and then I'll kind of lay all that out for you. And if it sounds like something you want to do, great. And if not, that's okay too. But I'll give you my best recommendation as far as like, here's what I would do with you and here's what I would recommend for you.
So it's not an appointment like I had with you like year ago.
No, no. So I do two
No.
things, right? So people ask me all the time. Sorry for the confusion.
Mhm.
So, um, for many, so I also offer a phone call consultation, which is no charge. That's free. And those are usually 15 minutes, usually about 15 minutes. That is not a case workup. That's like, hey, I want to set up a phone call with you. I have a question um, for you, or whatever. That's usually just like, hey, that someone wants to kind of pick my brain, if you will, about something, or they need me to point them in the right direction as far as like what blood work they might need done or what have you with their doctor. Um, those are just phone conversations, and they're usually about 15 minutes. And those are not case workups. There's a fee for this, obviously, because it's going to take a lot more work and a lot more time on my part. Like we're going to have a couple visits. I'm going to have to review all your labs. We're going to have to do a history, the whole 9 yards. That's the difference. Does that make sense?
So basically, 97 is the first appointment with you, correct?
Well, yes. And then many times there's a second appointment if someone's if I can help them, if they're a good candidate, like they have Hashimoto's and it's a good fit and they like me and I like them and I think I can help them, then we'll have a second appointment, which is included in that 97.
Okay, it's included in 97. And what
Yep.
is the rest of the program cost?
That depends. Depends on the person. So I typically usually most people I will work with in 90-day uh, chunks, if you will.
Mhm.
So my goal, which you can see what we talked about today, my goal is to get someone from, day 0 to day 90, get them figured out, get them better, get them into remission or get them on their way to remission. Like, okay, we're on the path. It's just going to take longer time-wise for us to get there in that first 90 days. And that'll vary depending on what somebody needs for testing. It depends on what someone might need with my services. I typically meet weekly with patients, and I usually do all-inclusive like care plans. So I'll include everything in their care plan. And it's not a great answer to your question, but let's say on average
Average, yeah.
for that 90 days, all in, like my services, supplements, testing, that kind of stuff, usually looking somewhere between like 2 to 4 thousand. And that's over 3, 4 months. That's like everything totaled. And we do
Mhm.
payment options and all kinds of stuff on that.
So all the tests we're supposed to pay out of the pocket.
No, no, I include all that. That range or that total, if you will, includes Dutch testing, it includes supplements, usually the first round of supplements for the AIP protocol. So that's usually all in.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, and what are you doing with patients who are not getting better after 90 days?
We keep working until they do. So so it's not
You're
like
not you're not drop the ball on them?
no, no, it's no, no, no. I don't cut anybody loose. Like because that happens sometimes, right? Like it's not a 90-day cap. You know what I mean? Like it's not like 90 days and someone's out the door. I give people full access to me. They get my email address, they get my cell phone number for messaging.
I
We have,
have all of them.
yeah, yeah, we have weekly appointments. Like I meet with my patients weekly, like virtually usually, obviously if they're not coming into my office, because we're implementing their plan. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so all of that stuff's included. I have a private group, the whole 9 yards. Um,
Do
and
you have any failures in your practice?
Sure, I'd be lying if I wasn't told you I was 100%, right?
Yeah. What
Now,
is the percentage?
now
Just
my
curious.
percentage is very good for a couple of reasons. And I'll tell you mostly the reasons why it's not where it wouldn't be good. But um there's no cap on this. It's not like 90 days and you're out the door. But I like to give people a reasonable expectation. How long does it take to do all this stuff? Right? Like to do all this work and to get to here, approximately how long does it take? Sometimes it takes longer. If it takes longer, it takes longer. People have setbacks, stuff happens, right? So my promise to my patients is we're going to stay in this. I don't care if it takes 4 months, I don't care if it takes 6 months, but we're going to stay in this until we're to that point, right? So we set goals in the beginning and we have, baselines, and then it's like, here's where we want to get to. We're usually pretty good in that first 90 days, but if it takes longer, it takes longer. But that's fine. And I don't charge anything additional at that point, to be honest with you. Um, there's no additional fees or anything at that point. Many times, and I try and weed this out in the beginning, to be honest with you, but many times where we don't have success is where the patient's not holding up their end of the bargain. Like they're not following my recommendations, what I'm asking them to do, and supplements I'm telling, I'm recommending for them, and they're not sticking to the dietary recommendations that I'm, that kind of stuff. Um, but I personally make it a promise to my patients, like I'm going to stick with you until we're done. Whether that takes 90 days or 90 years. I won't be around in 90 years, so I hope it doesn't take that long, but it usually doesn't. But we dig, I get such good results because we look under all the rocks and we don't stop until we're done, you know. I mean, you can't, we do DNA. You can't get any deeper into somebody than their DNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's like the bottom of the hole. Like we dig to the bottom of the hole and then we climb our way out, when we find out what are all the rungs of the ladder, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. You got it, Larissa. All right, let's keep going here. Elaine, Elaine, you can go for it. You just have to unmute. If you're still here, Elaine, you would just have to unmute yourself and then you can chat. And then I have some questions in the chat as well we'll get to. I know there's some questions in the chat. Elaine, are you there? If you're there, you can unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask your question. What I'm also going to do in the chat is I'm going to go ahead and put the link if you do want to sign up for the case review. I'll put it in the chat there so that way you guys can just click on it. Elaine, are you there? No, Elaine. If you're there, Elaine, unmute yourself and ask your question. Have at it. Oh, looks like you've unmuted. You there, Elaine? No? Yep. You're unmuted, Elaine, if you can hear me and you can speak. You are not on mute, so if you can, I don't know if you're talking right now, but I can't hear you. All right. Anybody else? If you have questions, raise your hand, gang. I'm here. I'm here to help answer questions on anything you have about anything that we talked about today. Patty has a question. I'm going to go to Patty next. Elaine, if you still have a question and you can get it figured out, go ahead. I'll leave you in. I'll leave you with the ability to talk. You just have to, I think, unmute yourself. Patty, you're on the board. Looks like you're unmuted if you can hear me.
Okay, I have a quick
Gotcha.
question.
There you go. All right, we did it. How you doing, Patty?
I'm good. So I already met with a functional doctor and everything and paid way more money than I ever should have, which I know that's
I know.
that happens.
I know. I know. I'm trying to not
I
have that
know
happen
I
to
made the
people.
wrong choice. I
Well,
totally made the wrong choice.
look, I mean, we can only act on the information we have at the time, right?
Right.
And so like
Mhm.
people, do that. It's not your fault. People do that before they
Yeah,
even know I exist. And they're just like, then they meet me and they're like, oh man, I wish I would have met you a year ago. Like I
yeah.
think I would have been better by now.
I
And I'm like,
know.
yeah, that's the point.
So I
But
have all the blood work, all the Dutch tests, everything
oh,
except the I don't know, one thing you mentioned.
the DNA.
Yes, I don't have
Yeah.
that.
And it
But
just depends on how long ago it was. I mean, the blood work's not an issue. If you did the Dutch test, how long ago was it?
well, I had my second one just like a couple months ago.
Oh, cool. So you'd had two. Beautiful.
Yes. Mhm.
Perfect.
So would you
Perfect.
be up for reviewing them and
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. I'd be able to, you could just schedule the review with me and then you can send me all that stuff ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
What I'll do is, I think you can see it on the screen there. What I'll do is I just have people, like I just do it all manually. I'm a what you see is what you get with me. Like I'm it. I have one staff member and I don't have health coaches and any of that stuff. So you deal directly with me. So after you sign up for the case review, I'll literally email you the link to my calendar
Oh,
to schedule, and then it'll come from my email.
okay,
So you'll be able to then email any of your stuff to me ahead of time. So
okay,
then that way you blood work, Dutch test, like you get all that stuff to me ahead of time. I can review it ahead of time,
right,
and then we can review it together.
okay,
And but then I'll still need to do a case history with you. Like I'll need you to bring me up to speed on everything that you've been
right,
through, obviously, and then we can hammer all that out on that appointment as well.
okay,
Um, yeah, absolutely.
okay, that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yep, you got it. Yeah,
Uh,
just grab that link and schedule it with me, and we'll get to work.
Okay, I agree. Great,
All right,
thank you.
Patty. All right. Awesome. All right, Elaine, or did you get it going, Elaine? You got your hand raised and you're not on mute, but I can't hear you. Maybe type it in the chat if you're having trouble getting it to me. All right, let's go right to the Q&A. Uh, so it should be on the bottom. I see someone there. I can't see the chat. So along the bottom, like your box, like where you see me and maybe like Elaine's name and Patty's name and stuff, there should be along the bottom. It depends on what you're on. If you're on like a phone, like I'm always on my desktop. So there's a tray along the bottom where it's like audio, video, chat, raise my hand, Q&A, all that kind of stuff. You should be able to just click the Q&A button or click the chat button. Either one's fine. I'll see them both. And be able to ask a question if you're having trouble finding the chat. Stephanie had a question. Do health savings accounts or HSAs cover this expense? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So, HSAs, FSAs, I have patients use those all the time to cover any and all of my services, supplements, like Dutch test kit, all the stuff. All those funds can be used uh, for any treatment that we have to do. Great question. That was Stephanie. Thank you. Next up, what are the costs of the labs, Dutch testing, etc.? It totally depends. I include the Dutch testing in like if I'm recommending a Dutch test to someone, I include it in their fee. It's $300. If I order it, it's $300. I tell people you can order it yourself, to be honest with you. Like you could go on their website and order it. They charge, I think, $500 or $600 if you go and order it yourself. I get practitioner pricing. I get it for $300, which is pretty good price for that test because of what we get from it. Labs, it would totally depend. Totally depends on someone's insurance. Depends on if they have to pay cash. Depends on whatever needs to be done as far as labs. The ancestry testing, you just go on their website. You get it through their website. They have a couple different tests. You only need the lowest priced one. So they have multiple tests. They have like an ancestry DNA, they have ancestry plus health traits and all this other stuff. The lowest priced one is $99 for the DNA, for the ancestry. It's always on sale, or you can always find a coupon. Like I have patients that are like, oh, I found a coupon code on Amazon or something. It was $39. So it's regularly $99. That would be the most you'd ever pay for the DNA testing, the ancestry. You only have to do it once because your DNA is not going to change. So that would be the only other one. And then Patty had another question. What to do for low insulin? It depends. The old it depends again, right, Patty? So obviously we're gonna get together, I think, and look at your labs and stuff. So I'll have to look at your low insulin in the totality of your other lab testing, if that makes sense. So it's hard to just pick out one test and give commentary on it because I need to look at it in the bigger picture of what's going on with you. So, all right. Diana has a question. Diana, you can unmute yourself if you like.
There, can you hear me?
I got you. How you doing?
Great.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, good.
All right. All right. Fire away. What's your question?
Hey, my question is, I just typed it out too, so I'll repeat it.
Oh, okay.
My TSH is 0.04.
Okay.
I feel really good. I've been on liothyronine and levothyroxine, Tirosint for most of the year now, and finally I'm feeling really good again. but I've read a lot that a low TSH is unhealthy for my heart and bones.
So TSH is a pituitary hormone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it is not a thyroid hormone. It is a pituitary hormone. It's thyroid stimulating hormone. It comes from your pituitary gland and it stimulates your thyroid to make its hormones, T3, T4. In the medical world, my gosh, it is all they look at. Like, it's the only thing they look at, and it's incredible to me. Like, in your particular case, sure, if we looked at TSH in a vacuum, right? If you were like, my TSH is 0.04, I would be like, holy crow, yeah, that's really low.
Mm-hmm.
And I would expect you to A, be hyperthyroid or over-medicated or something like that, right? If we looked at it in a vacuum. But we don't just look at TSH in a vacuum. I don't. You no, you shouldn't, but that's what's done, unfortunately, in medicine, right?
Right.
So we need to look at it in context with what do your other levels look like? Like what do your hormone levels look like? What is your, what did the thyroid like? What's T4 look like? What's T3 look like? Free T4, free T, like what do these things, what do these other things look like? And to be honest with you, someone like yourself, if you're like, I I feel great, my
Yeah.
TSH is 0.04 and everything else looks good, like everything else is like
Yeah.
awesome, like tight, like in optimal ranges, I, I'm not going to touch a thing. I'm not going to do anything. Like I
Okay. Yeah.
wouldn't change.
My antibodies are going down, and I'm going to a functional doctor now locally.
Antibodies are going down. Beautiful, beautiful.
And he
Wow.
doesn't overcharge me. He's very reasonable, and
Yeah.
he told me not to worry about it. But when I go to my Medicare doctor, she's all freaking out over it.
Yeah. Because if you have clinical hyperthyroidism, that could be a problem, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
want you to be super hyper, just like we don't want someone to be super hypo. And because yes, long term that can cause complications, but we can't diagnose you as being hyper just on TSH alone, especially if you're being medicated, because the medication is going to suppress TSH a little bit, right?
Yeah, I don't feel
So
like I'm taking 50 mcgs of Tirosine.
yeah. So if everything else looks great, you feel
Yeah.
great, you're functioning great, your antibodies are going down, your hormone levels look great, I
Yeah.
would not change a thing, and I wouldn't lose sleep over a low TSH.
Okay, that makes me feel good. Thank you for your advice. Thank you.
You got it.
All right.
All right, Diana. Cool. Elaine, do you still have a question? Hand still raised, so I'm not sure. Cool. Good. And that was Diana's question here in the chat I'm checking on now. So good. So what about Victoria has a question. What about food sensitivity tests? Yeah, so I've been through this a lot with my groups and emails and stuff like that. I do not run food sensitivity testing as a matter of routine. Have I done it at times with people? Of course. In the past, did I used to do it a lot? Yes. I don't do it now because I have not, honestly, I've not found it to be very reliable. Um, I've done it where like every single food that we test for shows up positive, and I've done it where every single food that we test for is negative. And the reality of it is it's probably not one way or the other, right? Somewhere in the middle. But so I don't want my patients spending money on a test or even doing a test that is not going to be helpful to us. It's not going to give us reliable information that's going to help us to treat them. I've had much better success, which is why I do it this way. I've had much better success with as part of an AIP protocol doing an elimination reintroduction diet. We clean the slate. We take out anything that would show up on that test anyway. Like the 96 foods or the most common foods, we're going to take all those out of the diet anyway. And we're going to go in there, we're going to clean house, we're going to modulate someone's immune system, we're going to fix their gut, we're going to decrease their inflammation, we're going to detoxify their body and their cells and all this kind of fun stuff. And we're going to get them in a relatively short period of time completely turned around. And then we can take a deep breath and then we can gradually reintroduce foods, and we're going to be able to tease out in real time with that person which foods are back in, which foods are out. And again, that's why I work so intimately with all my patients, like literally food by food, we're going to monitor that. and I want them to message me, literally like send me a text message or a voice message or an email or a messenger pigeon or whatever. Send me, let me know, message me every time you reintroduce the food. What happened? How did it go? You know, good, bad, ugly. Like, let me know so we can hammer this out along the way because we want to build a long-term plan. I want to get to the point where it's like we strip it all down, then build it back up. And it's like, here's your eating plan now for remission long term. And along the way have figured out foods that, okay, these got to stay out. I have to avoid these. So I hope that makes sense. That was from Victoria. Victoria, I hope that makes sense. That's kind of my long-winded answer. They can be helpful. Just from experience, I've not found them to be terribly reliable. So I'd rather save the headache and the confusion and the expense of having to do another test if we don't need it, or we can do it without that test even better, if that makes sense. So great question. Good question. All right. Anybody else have questions? I'm still trying to get Elaine on here, but doesn't seem to be working. She's got her hand raised and she's on mute. She's on mute now. She's been off mute, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. So cool. Anybody else have any questions? I will stay. If we're done with questions, we'll wrap it up. I hope this was a valuable workshop for everybody. If you have questions, pop them in the chat, raise your hand, or there's a Q&A button at the bottom as well. If not, then we'll wrap it up. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. This is recorded. I'm going to send out the replay to everybody. All right. I posted it in the chat there. As you can see it on the screen there. If you want to set up your own personalized case review and have a one-on-one with me, and we totally work up your case and see what's going on, you can scan that QR code. You can go to that website, go.drraybenedetto.com/Hashimoto's case review. I posted the link in the chat as well. You want one? Let's do it. We'll set it up. I'll send you, I'll email you myself from me the link to schedule in my calendar once, if you want that. So, but other than that, I think we're wrapped up on questions. I don't see any more in my queue here. I don't see any more hands raised. So we'll wrap it up. I hope this was helpful for you, gang. I don't want to just drone on and on and on here. I want to get in, give you impactful, powerful information on what needs to be done and how to do it. If you want my help, great. If not, that's fine as well. I hope you gained something today to help increase your awareness and your knowledge. I'll send out the replay. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Everyone have an awesome day. And I'll be here for you if you need anything.